Hello and welcome to the Perpetual Traffic Podcast. This is your host, Ralph Burns, and the founder and CEO of Tier 11. And today's show is part 2 of our 2-part series on why ROAS sucks. And like I mentioned in the first show earlier this week, if you have not listened to that show from earlier this week, go back and listen to it. Why ROAS sucks, and the number one metric that we use here, which we have started to reveal here, and we're going to get into more detail on that specifically on today's show. This is a super important episode, and like I mentioned in our first rebroadcast, this is one of the most downloaded shows that we've ever done here on Perpetual Traffic, and I think the reason is because it's counterintuitive. It's very relevant to a lot of the marketers who are listening to this show, and you as a marketer, you as a CEO, you as a director of marketing or a VP of marketing, this is something that probably your team is getting caught up with, and having been on multiple dozens of client calls the last couple of weeks, this is still a metric that rules the day, which is ROAS. And ROAS is no longer a leading metric. There are better ways to measure the growth and scale of your business online. ROAS, especially in app, sucks. And John and I get into exactly why and how to use this new metric in order to scale and grow your business. So we get into some other things here, which is how to use Meta for prospecting and Google for conversions. John gets deeper into that, sort of deeper into the funnel, how we use the two platforms together. Once again, this is the first episode that we did with John as a member of Tier 11. Remember, when he was over at Solutions 8, he was only a Google guy. Now he is a multi-channel guy and has a lot more tools in the toolbox. So we talk about that here, as well as how to choose the right product to sell if you're struggling with that on both Meta and Google, and how to use them together. Because Meta, Google, email, social, SEO, TikTok, Snapchat, they all work together to create conversions. They're not isolated in their own little silo. That's an old way of looking at things. If you're looking at it first click, ROAS, on all the individual platforms, you're looking at it the wrong way. You're fighting yourself with the money that you're spending and the time you're spending on all your other marketing activities as well. So let's get right into it here. It's part 2 of myself and John. Take it away, boys.
In this, and we didn't see the inside of their Meta, because I assume that you're not doing anything on their Meta side, but with Meta, was there a reduction in spend? You said that at the beginning. There was a reduction in spend as well. So
we looked at the last few years and we saw that Meta kind of kept pushing a little bit harder, and it hit a point of diminishing return, and they became not profitable. So the client was upset. Now this is a client, so I had one call, or I've had 2 calls with this client. One was to get the lay of the land and do the hours worth of research in order to figure out what happened. Right. And then 1 hour to rebuild the campaigns inside of Google. And now the person's kind of just off and onto their own. So I didn't have necessarily a chance to look inside of Meta too much. It was just like kind of on a screen share. Mm-hmm. But what was happening was Meta was going after, they didn't have exclusions. They didn't necessarily have like it was just kind of like, hey, spend on whatever Meta wants to spend kind of thing. And then Google was like, all right, because it's Performance Max, spend on whatever Google wants to spend. So it was just kind of, 2 ships passing in the night, but also crashing into each other and not realizing it. So the Meta spend just kind of kept scaling and then didn't really push the bottom line. And then when they pull back 40% year over year from February to February, there wasn't a reduction in that overall revenue. Right. So that's where we looked at is Meta was kind of being just, it was non-targeted spend and non-excluded spend that just kept growing. And when it pulled back, it was like, okay, it's probably going out on like sites, or Advantage Plus was just kind of like spending it to whoever they wanted to spend on. It wasn't actually going towards prospecting. So what we did is said, hold tight on Meta. Don't do anything on Meta. We want to change Google first and see how that reacts. Because while you never want to think of Google versus Meta, you also want to know that when you're going from warm, irrelevant audiences to good, proper cold traffic with quality items, you do want to measure that change. And then next, do the same thing on Meta and see how that doubles down on that. And then talk about scaling is using Omnichannel, using the same amount of ad spend increases per platform, regardless of what their levels are at, which means if Meta's doing 70 grand and Google's doing 30 and you want to scale, add 20% to both channels equally. You don't want to interrupt the life cycle path of the customer journey. You just want to amplify it.
Right.
So that would be phase like 3. But this first phase was, what channel do we go through first? And because this is a in-demand type of product that does have a great amount of inbound search, it was just very easy to clean up Google first.
Yeah. So you kept, in essence, but you didn't do it, but they kept Meta, in essence, the same. You wanted to change the one variable and see how that would be impacted.
Yeah. If we go after cold traffic, it would detach Google from Meta and turn Google into a prospecting network and not a regurgitation of semi-poor Meta traffic. What happens? It goes after new customers and it does grow and it does scale. Good. That's fixed. Now we have to fix Meta. And then once those both are fixed, you can then start to scale both equally.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, 2 underperforming channels. Fix one, see how it works. If it's fixed, fix the other one, see if that's fixed as well, and then scale both.
And that's why it's so vital to have, you change one thing and then you see what the effect is.
Right.
And another important part to this that I think, I don't want to lose this in the translation here, is that the 80-20 of marketing, like the Pareto principle of put your best, most profitable products in front of those cold traffic audiences, especially the ones that are your best sellers. Like, it's just like, I don't even know if that idea unto itself is something that a lot of businesses even think of. Like, how many SKUs does this company have in total? Dozens, or is it thousands, or is it hundreds?
Yeah, I'm still in it. So this is actually 764.
Okay. So out of those, the 80-20 is, let's say it's 100 products, maybe 50.
It's about 80 something. Yep.
80 something. Okay. Somewhere in there. And that shift just on its own, taking that out of Performance Max, which I don't know as if we've had you on. Well, we have actually had you on talking about Performance Max, because you were all about Performance Max years ago.
Oh yeah. It's still fantastic for specific use cases. But if you fill it up with junk meta traffic, you can't scale it.
Yeah, because it'll just retarget on brand, really.
Will retarget junk traffic and only show up for brand, and then it learns off of that. So it's there's so many different moving parts and pieces. I've now kind of made. You want to see the irony of this? I made it my golden rule to never have a digital marketing golden rule. So
the changes.
It's so unique. It's use, and they always ask me, John, what's the best way to do this? John, what's the best way to do that? I'm like, I don't have an hour to go through every scenario specifically to your business.
Right.
And that's what's interesting. There is no what is the best. What is the best is finding the best campaign hierarchy and structure on each channel for that businesses. Is like, is it over $300 or under $300? Is it impulse buy or is it not? What's the sales cycle? Do they return? How often do they return? Do you have influencers that are driving a whole bunch of traffic that Performance Max and Advantage Plus are going to remarket that we don't want to?
Variables.
Like, exactly. There's 1,000 variables I can think of where it's like the best is for that use case. The best would be this, but it's vastly different for another business.
Same type of customer, different industry with a different background. All of a sudden, you might do something completely different than what we just shared on screen.
Right. I think this is. I want to go back a little bit to what you said is where it's like the driving the most amount of traffic to the proper product. I almost would say that this is, most businesses do think that way. The good ones do. And a lot of people that are in positions of power will still sing that from the mountaintops. Team, we need to get the traffic to these products. The problem is agencies may not necessarily do that if they seem good at quote unquote ROAS. So it's like, well, we're getting a 5X. Do we really want to do what that guy says? Well, yeah, that's the owner of the company. He built it and now he's here or she's here because of what they know what to do. But your ROAS is going to stop that. And if you make these changes and you see the ROAS dips down 40% or whatever it just dipped on me, you're going to panic and switch back. And then you're going to tell the boss, hey, sorry, sir, ma'am, like what you want is wrong. So that's what's interesting is it's just measurement. But a lot of times, if you actually put the ad spend towards the products that have built the company and measure differently and do it omni-channel, wow, what a novel idea. Like, let's drive traffic to a good product that sells.
Right. When a lot of clients come to us, I can think of multiple examples here. They say, all right, well, here's our strategy. This is what we're doing. And then my first, like when I was doing this day in and day out, I'd be like, all right, well, if you want to market your company, like give me a list of your best selling products and your most profitable ones. So your best sellers, the most popular, ideally least competition plus, highest net operating income, gross profitability, contribution margin, name your metric. Like those are the ones that matter the most, because I can get an 800% ROAS on a $7 product that you make $1 on.
Right.
And look like a hero, but like that doesn't move your business forward.
Yep.
So I think that just unto itself, like these are a little bit more involved concepts that have nothing to do with traffic, but it's just decision making and understanding the business. And my sense is that with this customer, it's probably one of the first things that you asked.
Yeah.
Is,
oh yeah.
Let's 80-20 this.
The shocking thing, if you're running Google Ads right now, or if you're even in your own business, hop into your Google Ads account as an example. Before you click on a campaign, just click product, click your product list. It'll show you all the products that are all marketed in all campaigns. Sort descending by cost, not conversions, not conversion rate, not ROAS. Sort descending by cost. Look at the 5 products
Cost,
there and say
meaning
ad
cost
spend.
of that. Okay,
That's
ad spend.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah. So
Yep.
when you sort descending by cost, that'll tell you what the ad spend is being spent on. So when you sort descending by cost, ask yourself, are these the 5 products that I should be spending the majority of my ad spend on? Right there, I would guess half of everybody here that would try this would probably look at this and say, oh, you know what? Crap. I shouldn't be spending majority of my ad spend on these 5 products. Right there, you know that just you have a structure problem for your business, period. That's it. I don't care what the ROAS is. I don't care anything. That is a structural issue in your business.
Yeah.
That, especially if it's performance max, you have very little control over. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, it is. Do you factor in like that question about best selling plus most profitable? Like ultimately at the end of the day, like we want to be able to scale and grow businesses, and you don't do that necessarily just by top line growth, but you really are looking at, and every business has this differently. We've had customers set it up inside Meta, for example, like I don't even care about what the retail price is. I just want to know what the contribution margin is. We alter our conversion value or net profitability, like net operating income. Like I want to know exactly what I net on everything. Are those like the types of conversations that agencies should be having with businesses just to begin with? Because like for me, like when I'm talking to my team, it's like I care about gross profitability, I care about net operating income, I care about like customer centricity, which feeds all of that. But like those are the types of conversations that I don't think a whole lot of agencies really have in this day and age. Like
no, not at all. And that's the part that just is shocking to me. And here's a great example. This is one that we don't even necessarily need to blur. This is a company that I'm a small equity owner in. And what we're looking at from
screen share fun with John Moran here.
Yeah. Story time.
Yeah, baby.
So I'll do this here. And this is the part where it gets real fun. And I'll actually share 2 examples on this part. So let's do this period here. If we look at this time period here, which is just February 1st to the 21st, you'll see something here that we have net quantity sorting descending is, you know what? I'll do this. Let's take
we are in Shopify now. We're in the back end of Shopify, which is one of the things that John typically looks at first, because that's what kind of matters. It's where the money's collected.
This is what you should be doing necessarily, even if like you're before you even start marketing. Really? Yeah. I mean, if you have any sort of sales.
Well, you spend any dollars.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. If you're not doing this, you skipped a step.
Yeah, you might want to watch this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're looking at like what products have what sort of profit margin. And I think we started this on the 25th. So this is the kind of after It's 54% profit margin, where I think if it just take like kind of the 2 weeks before that was at 52. So what's funny is when we look at the this beef cheek roll here had a 62% profit margin, had 27 sales. And then I think like here, for example, this beef cheek roll now has 46 sales. So it went from 27 to 46. We just changed some meta ads and we drove our gross margin from 52% up to 54% in 2 weeks. We're like, excellent. Like this, what changed? We just changed the meta ad of what we're marketing to a more profitable product. Whoa, like groundbreaking novel idea, like holy crap.
And so it's really listeners that may not know the difference between gross contribution and net. In your case here, gross margin is what specifically for this customer?
Yeah, so this is just our net sales of the products minus the COGS, what it costs for us to manufacture and ship the product out.
Right. So that is gross profit, just for those of you who are not familiar with some of these accounting terms, which are kind of important terms. If you're an agency and you don't know this shit, you should get an accounting book or read something on it. Anyway, I digress. You were rolling there. So going up from 52 to 54, pretty nice increase. In about 12 days.
Yeah, and what's interesting is actually I'll do this here. I'm going to pull up that Meta account. Give me 1 second here. 25th through the 10th. And you want to know what's funny is this is a fairly small account. I mean, we're just kind of just doing stuff. And this is all fake. That's not actually what they call tofu mofu. So for listeners that can't see my screen, I'm just taking a campaign that was already running and just simply just changing around what happened internally. But all we did here is you see everything else was shut off here, and we just started marketing those beef cheeks. And it's literally just one ad inside the beef cheek. And the beef cheek, what we did is say, hey, are you a person who is a website visitor? Well, you're excluded. Has bought anything ever? Well, you're excluded as well. So if you ever heard about us or been to our website, you're not allowed to see my ads anymore. And when we did that,
it's now
a beef cheek roll is...
It's not perfect by any stretch, but it's at least you're doing that. Like that right there. Like if you're not, and it's the biggest mistake we see on all Meta accounts. John,
well, the reason why this one was so bad and the reason why we took this such a harsh approach is because Meta was spending it had about 60% of its attributed sales to existing customers.
Yeah.
And when we said, hey, before we start to build out everything, like people who have interacted with the ads and all those downstream things that after the first prospecting, we're spending 100% of our money on prospecting right now. We have zero remarketing, which again is a failure, but it's to reset the account. Because once I start filling it up with people who have started to interact with my ads for the first time, now I can kind of move into also who are the people who have interacted with the ads or have been to the websites and built my remarketing, that kind of stuff. So I had to reset the account. But in doing so, I just did it to more profitable, most profitable products. And what's nice about this is here's a good example of when you're thinking about omnichannel, the right audience is spending the right amount of money on the right products. The before and after change of this is the most, I think the probably the best thing that I can share to everybody that's not necessarily in this day-to-day in the weeds. This is a first 4 days before and after of this test. So in the first 4 days of shutting off the Advantage Plus, shutting off the non-excluded audiences, basically turning this from a kind of warm to an all cold. What you'll see here is the blended CAC went from a 91 down to a 60. The blended, the new customer ROAS went from an average of 1.2 to a 1.35. My new customers went from an average of 3.5 a day, or at least, or 14 up to 18. My new customer sales went from 876 up to 1370. And my profit per new customer went from negative 257 to negative 117 because we're heading in the right direction. Our LTV is fantastic. We have a 60% return customer rate per month on a cohort. So I can afford, but now it's spending a lot less. The only area is after changing this meta, which is the only actual channel that we're marketing right now, the only thing that actually happened that was bad was we went from we had our what's it called right here? So repeat customer sales, $4,500 down to $2,992. This was off of just an email campaign that happened the day before. That's the only reason why this thing kind of went down, is because we had a really good email sale that blasted through a bunch of return customers that didn't come next week. But the new customers, where we're actually attributing them, I mean, just by excluding everybody and going pure cold, just having our CAC go from 91 down to 60 in first 4 days, that's like a 40% decrease in our CAC just by structurally changing the audiences that we were going after. And this is happening on every channel, for all clients. It's amazing.
And you're going to get them again because this is 60. What did you say? This is 60% return rate.
Yeah, that's what's nice is we've been taking this mantra for a little while, and we've kind of changed this company around a little bit. And we just started. We did a whole bunch of changes in the in Meta. But if we look at like the last 30 days as an example, out of 393 orders, it's 62.3% return customer rate. This company, we acquired it, and it was an SEO only company for years. So not big push for new customers. So it just grew organically for years. And so that's why if I spend $1 on these people, I will have them return all the time. That's why we can afford to kind of lose on that CAC a bit, our actual purchase. If we can get to a 0 CAC where it's break even, now it's just how many free customers do you want? That's at scale, and that's what we're moving towards.
Right. And the lifetime value of something like that is what? Like,
so these people
sort of a longer term timeline.
Yeah, we have $240 of 12 month LTV. So $240 lifetime value for each one of these customers. So if we went from buying them at $240 now down to $112. That's the CAC change of this last kind of 4 days. But if we look at our top line metrics, because that's just attributed CAC from only spend that happened on Meta. But if we look at our lifetimely as an example, this is where that change took place. We started the beef cheek campaign here. This was on the day before the first. The day before. So it was the 25th. That's when we started here. So we look at the 25th. Again, it's not going to be probably the best and perfect. Now our profit's up 2,100%. So yeah, we basically, our sales are up 353. Our marketing costs are up 411. At least that profit at 506, because this is, again, really high COGS. You can see the COGS are up 336. Yeah. They're really low AOV, really low margin product. But if I can have a net profit of 506 and our blended CAC be 45, 34, bad day here, but 50, 57, 58, 80, our return customer sales every day is like $600 to $1,000 a day. Now we're a little bit, sometimes over $1,000. Good.
And that should just be growing over time.
That will continually grow. If I can wake up and have $2,000 a day, that's over $700,000 in basically, sales a year that I don't have to get out of bed for now.
Yeah. Because you've done your job on the front end, because you figured out the math. And we're also looking at lifetimely, which is another great, I wouldn't even say it's an app per se, but it's like a dashboard literally that like shows all this.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Check this out here. This is where businesses need to measure and stop measuring in app ROAS. My net profit on the 29th was $240 because I had a 1.4 new customer ROAS, which people are like, oh no, I need 300% ROAS. Okay, that's the wrong thing. I had a 1.4 new customer ROAS. I had 5 new customers. I lost $24 on every one of those new customers that day, but then made $1,300 in repeat sales, which I don't have to try for anymore. And then my contribution margin that day was $240. Excellent. So measuring, what can I afford? How many of them can I afford? How many can I scale? We're still losing a couple bucks per new customer on top line, which is okay. We'll that's what we're moving towards, is putting all of our ad spend towards new customers and then refining that. But if there comes a day where it's like $1 net profit per new customer, we hit 100K in spend. Like, we're just cranking this thing up, because that is just going to grow and grow and grow.
And I love this case study because this isn't like, oh my God, it's 1,000% increase in 2 days. It's like, this is a gradual process. And I think it's important for businesses to look at this and say, the ad platforms are not an ATM.
No.
You know, you don't put the card in and just say, hey, how much money do I want that day? It's an investment into the future. And I think that's a hard thing for people to get to wrap their head around, especially if you've got new entrepreneurs with new businesses that have never done this before. They realize that marketing is an investment, and it's something that you have to, you know, I guess I have to quote Qasim here because this is the analogy that I'm getting at. Like, everyone stops planting corn. All they want is the popcorn in the bag at the grocery store. Eat the smart food because it's delicious, but nobody wants to plant the corn. Like, this is what you need to do. You need to plant the corn along the way in order to get the corn and then pop the corn and turn it into popcorn. The point is like, that's what you're doing. And a lot of businesses have a challenge with this. Like, this is like when you're working with a client and they don't quite see it that way. We're talking like, this is one that they see it, they get it. You know, reputation alone, maybe it's because you're John Moran and like, you know, I'll just do whatever this guy says because I know he's freaking smart. But like, to the listener that's out there that's maybe struggling with this, what kind of recommendations would you have to get a client, or, you know, if you are in business, you have to convince your partners of this. Yeah. Like, maybe you're the director of marketing and you have to convince your CEO this. Like, what do you do to sort of take them down that path?
Yeah, first thing I would say is this is going to be some pretty crazy talk, but it's true. If you're a business owner or a client, task all of the people that are working with you inside of your business as a vendor. When we're talking about marketing, for example, only measure business health. Never measure a report. If I was a business owner and I had a vendor saying, "Here's my report on my paid channel," I would throw it away. I would. It's useless. Because what I would say is, if the agencies that are involved, if they're separate or an agency that is holistic, if they are not being measured by your business performance, your business health, nothing else matters. The company that Bully Stick Central company, this is a company that was acquired last year. And you can see, I'm screen sharing right now the back end of the Shopify. And in the last 365 days, I think it was actually purchased in March. So give or take here a few weeks off. But we have a 44% business growth, a total orders up 34%. The average order value went up 9%. And our returning customer rate is still at 41%. It's only down 6%. That means that we actually have more new customers. Perfect. But they are not wavering. So this is really good business health. If this trend continues with a 44% business growth and a 158% increase in subscriptions, great. You win. Keep going. Good job. Yippee skippy. Did we lose any money? No, we're actually slightly more profitable during this 44% year over year scale. All right, I'll see you next year. That's how this should work.
Yeah.
Or in a large client, this is a client that is scaled massively. March 1st, 2023 to March.
We're looking at Northbeam here.
Yeah, I'll explain that one.
Yep. Just trying to navigate.
This is a company that scaled massively from March 1st, 2023 to March 1st, 2024. And inside of Northbeam, which is we're using as a total metric tool, just looking at all cash in, all cash out, top line business health. What I only measure, and I'll share this to the people that are not seeing the screen, the only thing that I measure is total spend across all channels all year and total top line growth, regardless of channel, all year. And so what this means is that if I spend $142,000 in paid media over this, 142%, sorry, if I spend 142% more in paid media in 1 year, I should see something close to that in my revenue, total revenue. And it's up 129.3%. So that means we actually put about $20 million in ad spend last year and made about 80 million more in revenue, because that number is 43 million spend, which is up 142%, and 153 million, which is up 130%. Good. So you're scaling well. And then what is my media efficiency ratio? My company's ROAS, if you want to use it that, but it's my company's cash in, cash out. For that scale of 20 million, or actually probably the 25 million, the media efficiency ratio only went down 5.4%. So what is 5.4% of a 3.5? What is it? I don't know. But basically, yeah, it was like went from 3.6 down to 3.54.
Yeah,
so my business health stayed the same.
You are pretty
during
good at math, by the
massive
way.
scale.
That was pretty good. That was quick math right there.
Okay, I'm kind of winging it. So I came pretty close.
No calculator needed.
Right.
Yeah.
And my costs per acquired first-time customer only went up 9% of $6.91. So it's about 60 cents. Good. So that's that. Now, what individual channels measure and grew and doesn't matter. Completely doesn't matter. Does not matter.
Doesn't matter.
Nope.
Like that's a case in point right there of this whole thing coming together at a massive scale.
Yeah. Because if Google was just going after brand, exactly. Because if Google was just going after brand, they couldn't scale.
Right.
That's pretty much it. So
there were all kinds of levers that you had to press in that big X that we just showed in the screen share.
Yeah, that's a year's worth of like daily work and grinding and really doing it. But as an agency or as an owner, you should only be measuring your business. That's it. Because if your business is failing, no report's going to tell you you're crazy.
Yeah. Channel reports, toss them in the trash.
Right. I mean, think about it. Really? Channel reports don't matter if your business is failing. Who's going to pat themselves on the back?
Well, the agency might.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we see that all the time. Or your internal team. Let's not just bash agencies here. I mean, there are internal teams where.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you know this. It's like you work with internal teams that maybe are doing the Facebook side of the equation, and you're doing the Google side. And we deal with this all the time. It's like you have to be able to navigate through it. It's more challenging that way. Yeah, because they're also trying to keep their jobs too. They're trying to maintain, favoritism with the boss that I'm doing my work and I'm doing my job and I'm substantiating my existence. But even if the business is going down, the boss is the one that's catching hell from the CEO. Right.
Right.
I mean, that all shit rolls downhill anyway. So
everyone just needs to get on the same boat, really. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is it forces internal team members. It forces one agency. It forces all of the agencies. Everyone has to communicate and work together. And the bad agencies will be like, well, we did our job. It was Meta that failed. Or Meta agencies like, well, we did our job, but then Google took all the credit. Then those are not people that can work together. If you have two agencies that are in their own boxing corners, getting ready for the fight, about ready to kind of come out swinging at each other, the company loses. Yeah. That's it.
It's true. Well, this has been amazing, and I know we've talked our way through probably 2 episodes here, so this will be a 2-parter. But obviously, we'll have you on many more times here on Perpetual Traffic because it is such a trip, and this is the reason. This conversation is the conversation I've been wanting to have on this show for probably 5 years. So, and in large part because now. We are together, and working with you has been a fucking dream. And my team is so excited. They're beyond excited. And it's because of this. It's not just because, it's like John Moran's finally on our team. It's like this type of thing that we just talked about here is next level. This is where our space is going. This is where we see collectively, you and I, as well as, everyone on the leadership team, which you'll have the chance to meet out in Denver, in a week or so, which is going to be a lot of fun. Excited. It is this is our mission to do this. This feels good. When you can actually sit and grow a business and help them achieve their goals, and especially if it's a purpose-driven business where they're really doing good stuff. There's nothing better. It's when we first met about this whole idea where we just want to grow businesses. I'm like, that's all we want to do. I don't know why that's what we want to do, but that's what we want to do. And it's the most fun thing in the world. So this has been a trip having you on here today. And obviously, pretty excited to have you alongside Tier 11. So John will be back. It's not just because, Qasim's away down in Argentina. I think he's just going down there to catch a tan. He's not working or anything.
Well, he's got a year-round tan, so I don't know what he's doing down there. So
he's getting even darker. Yeah, he's going to cut his hair. That's what he's going to do. He's going
to try even more taller, darker, and handsomer. I guess
taller and darker. Is that possible? Oh my God! Well, excellent. This has been great. And if you have not gone over to our Telegram channel, we're going to try and coerce John to join it. But perpetualtraffic.com/Telegram. I'm looking at Telegram right now, and it's like there's all kinds of stuff going on here, so which is really cool. And so our way of keeping in touch with you, the Perpetual Traffic listener, and getting real-time feedback, creating a community. We often talk about creating a community as a way to build a business. And all right, we're eating our own dog food here to a certain degree, but it's great to have the listeners like yourself in there talking about and commenting on things that we discuss here on the show, and getting sort of the behind-the-scenes stuff on top of that. So definitely check out our Telegram. And make sure that you do, if you were not, maybe you were in the car listening, go back and watch this episode, probably 2 episodes together. We're going to do a 2-parter here on our YouTube channel, which is perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. And of course, all the resources and show notes for the entire show are going to be over at perpetualtraffic.com. Make sure that you follow me over on LinkedIn, and Qasim on his socials. We'll give him a shout out at Qasim Aslam on socials. I haven't even asked you. You're every once in a while, like you comment on LinkedIn and there's like 10,000 comments. Like, where are you doing a social thing right now? We haven't even talked about this much.
Yeah, so I usually am on LinkedIn. My posts, I really try to make them extremely purpose-driven and impactful and actionable. So a lot of times it'll take like a few weeks worth of development of something, and then I'll share it on LinkedIn. I don't like the thing where it's like, comment like if you hate Google Ads on Monday. I don't know. I just try to, deliver strategic, actionable items for people to consume. I'm not very social on social media. I only have a LinkedIn. That's it. I don't even own a personal Meta account. But yeah, LinkedIn is where I am. Yeah, I like it. It's easier. I'm kind of all business all the time.
Yeah, I love LinkedIn. Yeah. I think LinkedIn's great. Yeah, I think it's just it's totally underutilized, and it's also from a business perspective, chances are it's probably where our ideal customer hangs out. So we try and narrow our focus there. We've talked about that many, many times here on the show. So, but definitely check out John. When and if we'll try and get him to post more, but John does what John does. So, and like I said, super psyched to have you on the show here today. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Make sure that you do watch this over on our YouTube channel, perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. If you're listening to it and you said, they're trying to explain it here, but I didn't really get it all the way, the YouTube channel will show you exactly through screen shares exactly what John and I are discussing. But even if you did listen to it, hopefully you enjoyed it and you're now thinking differently about these metrics. And these are metrics that really do matter in today's marketing landscape. And this is a theme that we're going to continue to come back to in 2025 with examples of how we're doing it inside Tier 11, obviously using the Tier 11 data suite, which was just sort of on the leading edge at the time of this original recording. Now it's incorporated into everything that we do here at Tier 11, and something that you should look at as far as NCAC, determining how to scale and grow your business, not using ROAS, but using new customer acquisition cost as your North Star moving forward. So if you like this week's episode, make sure you leave us a rating and review. We want to get this out to as many marketers as possible, just like yourself. Leaving a rating and a review will certainly help us do that and change the perception on ROAS and how we're really leading the charge here on new metrics that really do matter, that scale and grow businesses in 2025 and beyond. So on behalf of my awesome and amazing co-host, Lauren E. Petrullo, until next show, see ya.